Hello, I am your host, Kathy Chester, and welcome to the Move It or Lose It podcast, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, and soul. The Move It or Lose It podcast is for information, awareness, and inspirational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV, so please consult your doctor before making any medical decisions. The views expressed by advertisers, guests, or contributors are their opinions and not necessarily the views of the Move It or Lose It podcast. Introducing the Pulse device, cutting edge wearable device, revolutionary wellness designed to stimulate circulation, reduce harsh pain and tightness, and speed up recovery. The Pulse device uses advanced vibrotactile technology trusted by patients, clinicians, and wellness professionals. Whether you're recovering from an injury, battling a neuro condition, or just want to feel the best every day, Pulse helps you recharge so that you can live and feel better. Lightweight, powerful, and easy to use. Experience better performance, better recovery, and a better you. Order now and save $30 using my code MSDisrupted at pulsedevice.com. The Pulse device is your health recharged. You won't be disappointed. Get it now for yourself. I have it. I love it. Go ahead and grab it. Hello, welcome to another week of Move It or Lose It. I'm really excited. Mike and I have done this a few times trying to get together and do this podcast, but we did it. We're on today. So, Mike Stutter, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited. You are so accomplished and we're going over all your stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to get moving. I need to accomplish a lot to try to catch up with you. So thank you for being here and thank you for all that you do for the neuro community. Just going over a little bit of the things that you do. So of course it's a Monday. My printer didn't work. So um you just are so board certified specialist in neurologic physical therapy, very well respected. The first neurology specialist certified examination was administered in 1987. As of June 2024, ABPTS was certified in 4,000, and we'll talk about that in your awards. All physical therapists are qualified through education, clinical experience, and um, licensure to treat broad spectrum of symptoms and conditions, and this is what you're teaching, correct?
Yeah. So I'm a board certified neurologic clinical specialist. There's not many of us. I've now been certified for over 30 years, and I've received my
Wow.
recertification, which will carry me through to 40 years. So,
Wow.
Kathy, we're calling out my age now because I've been a physical therapist for over 35 years now.
That's okay. That's okay. You look really good for whatever age you are. So just talk about a little bit about your accomplishments. You are a neuro clinic. You already have that of the year. When did you win that? The neuro
Well,
clinic.
I won
My
the
words are not coming out.
national That's okay. I won the National Neurologic Clinician of the Year by the American Physical Therapy Association in 2011. And then 2014, I was awarded the same designation by the geriatric
Yeah,
section
that's really awesome.
of the APTA. So, very honored to receive that. And then
Yeah,
just a few years later, and a few years ago, I was designated as a
as a
fellow of the
fellow.
American Physical Therapy Association. There's not too many of those. So,
Talk
I
to us about what that means, because a lot of people
oh,
don't, unless you're in that
sure.
field, they don't know what that means. So tell us what that
Yeah, so a
entails.
Catherine Worthingham Fellow of the American Physical Therapy Association has provided distinguished service clinically, research, academically, educationally across the lifespan of their career in physical therapy. They've been someone who's impacted the profession
Mhm.
positively. That would
Yeah,
be the shortest way of putting it. There's about 400 people in the history of the profession that have been designated as such, and I'm just blessed to have been nominated and to
yeah,
be awarded such.
yeah. So, well, so are we. Now I want to know what got you, what grabbed you in the neuro.
science? Like, what was like, "Okay, I have to know," because sometimes I feel like, especially when it's something like MS or Parkinson's, something that it's like, this is difficult to understand. What made you think, "This is so difficult to understand, I'm in. I'm gonna go for it."
Kathy, I thank you for the question. It's a very intelligent, insightful, and impactful question. I came into physical therapy as a person who thought he wanted to do everything possible to continue to be aligned with Major League Baseball.
Right.
That is my sport. And once I knew I could not make it to the majors, I knew that I had to get there some way. So I had a full ride scholarship to the University of Missouri as a function of being a valedictorian. I went
Mhm.
there. I tried to ask, what's my best way of getting in with Major League Baseball? Broadcast journalism, athletic training, physical therapy. I took physical therapy. As I started my volunteer hours to get into physical therapy school, I
Uh-huh.
was awakened to neurologic physical therapy, helping people with stroke,
Mhm.
r- those with multiple sclerosis,
Yeah.
Parkinson's disease, actually make a difference in their quality of life, to me,
Yeah.
was much more meaningful than helping someone run 90 feet faster to first base. And the
Right.
game was over by then.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's really great, and I can only understand from my perspective as owning a regular gym, and it was successful. And I just had this nauseous feeling when COVID hit, because right before then, everybody wanted to do a second gym, and in my heart, I'm
Mm.
thinking, this isn't what I want to do. And thank you for the accolades. Thank you for wanting me to have that, but I know the direction I wanna go, and it's not like you're saying, I don't want my legacy to be, that I got some 20-year-old girl in a bikini. I want my legacy to be that this person is now walking again. This person now took a step, and this person stood in the shower for the first time. And so
Yeah.
those are the things I really appreciate what you did and what you're saying. And it is a big step, and it is something that is unknown, from back especially back then. Watching your TED Talk and the 2 books that you have, I loved
Mm.
the idea with when we talk about neuroplasticity back in the day, that was something we talked about, but I remember I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 20 years ago, and that was
Okay.
something that was not talked about, and it was just kind of ridiculous in the beginning when people brought it up. So talk to me about how you were brought to that and what you saw in the beginning, how you saw it and how you saw it work, and how you were able to intelligently speak to other therapists and explain how this works to others.
It's a great question. I've been fortunate in my career and life to have many opportunities to be able to garner a broad perspective on historically what we've done. For example, I was in physical therapy school in the late 1980s.
Mm,
Okay, and at that time we did not know about neuroplasticity. You're exactly right. We did not know about neurogenesis and
right,
many of the conditions that we treat more effectively now. At that point in our careers and education, we thought we could try to help the individual function. We didn't know we could combat, or what we now know as mitigate, the disease, much less make some improvements.
right,
So we spent a lot of our time working with individuals with stroke, just trying to help them recover as much as they could, put some of their life together with amputations,
right,
and with many orthopedic conditions, knee replacement, hip replacement, etc.
right.
Okay. By the time we hit the decade of the brains in the 1990s, or the
Mhm.
decade of the brain, I should say, singular, it became apparent just then in laboratory experiments, first starting with animals, that under the right conditions, that the nervous system would respond and make new connections. And
Yeah,
so the action of making new connections as a function of learning is called neuroplasticity. All of us, no matter our ages and no matter our conditions, have the capacity for neuroplasticity. We can learn a fact. 15 times 15 is 225. We can learn an event or an episode in our life. That was a fun show I just watched.
Right.
Remember that vacation that we took? Those are episodic memories. And finally, we have one third portion of memories called procedural memories,
Mhm.
and that is the memories of how we move that we automatize.
Mhm.
In the early days of neuroplasticity, we did not think that this was a viable process that would last beyond someone's early childhood. Oh,
Okay.
sure, young kids that had to have a hemispherectomy, half of their brain taken out,
Right.
could learn how to use one half of the brain to control the whole body. They could learn how to speak and write and learn new languages, etc. But we've learned that there's no end, no time frame to neuroplasticity, no matter, no
Right.
age, no condition. And so my benefit is seeing what we didn't know,
Yeah.
learning about it from the start, and being on the ground level and the grassroots, a clinician working for 50 hours a week,
Yeah.
seeing patients, learning how to apply this and watching what works. And here's the essence, and then I'll turn it back to you. Your podcast has it right. Move It or Lose It is, in fact, as you
Right.
likely know, one of the 10 accepted principles of neuroplasticity.
Right.
So we talk about use it or lose it. We talk about use it and improve it.
Yes.
So if we use it, it will improve, not just we didn't lose it.
Right.
We talk about intensity, repetitions, and
Yes.
practicing in a manner that imitates life.
Yes.
So my passion and my TED Talk formulate those and translate all
Yes.
of the science so that people can live their lives better.
I loved that. I loved listening to the TED Talk. I could listen to it daily because it really hits, I think, so much of where we are in any of them, whether it's a stroke survivor, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's multiple sclerosis. And I love what you said about a lot of times I think one of the first signs that I had, and I'm using me because I'm with you, was cognitive stuff. And from the time I was diagnosed 20 something years ago, it was, well, that's not going to come back. And well, that I believed what my doctor said. And now, I mean, what do you say to the people that, I mean, they prescribe me Adderall and that's still the drug of choice for cognitive issues. What do you say to that? Or do you see that also, do you see that changing in in all of the issues, the brain, whether it's a concussion, whether it's Parkinson's, whether
Mhm.
it's MS? Do you see that changing?
Absolutely. Here, yes. And here, and it's an affirmative with an exclamation point. Couple of things, and let's again use you as an example. You've elevated that for us. So, Kathy, number one, you run a gym, you run a podcast, you run a family, and many other things.
Mm.
We understand that you're doing things in your purpose filled life to prevent further degradation
Right.
or loss, right? Because you have to be organized with the podcast and the gym and life, you're actually keeping your cognitive faculties viable.
Right.
Again, let me state very clearly, preventing further loss. And what that means in the brain physically, it's like a superhighway where sometimes maybe multiple sclerosis can have an exacerbation, and you can
Mhm.
have a highway that's closed temporarily, especially if you have a relapsing, remitting
Right.
subtype of multiple sclerosis, highways closed. But because Kathy is used to running multiple highways
Mhm.
between these two towns, she has many other redundant lanes that she can continue to travel on. And
Right.
so until this highway reopens this lane, you can still function at quite high speeds.
Right.
And it's only because you continue to lay down more asphalt and keep those workers out there laying down pavement and actually widening your highways that you can continue. So that's one thing. You're preventing
Right.
further losses and you're laying down redundant pathways. Neuroplasticity
Mm.
is dependent on demand
Yes.
and supply. And
Right.
if you
Very well
don't
said.
demand of your brain won't supply it.
Right.
Now, I'll briefly address the last part of your question. Do you see those things changing? Absolutely. We have stigmas in healthcare and
Mhm.
society that have held you down, have held other people like you down, saying, it's MS. What do you want us to do? We can't beat the disease.
Right.
It's Parkinson's.
Yes.
However, if we have someone that's hungry, we feed them. If we
Right.
have someone that's weak, we strengthen them.
Right.
If we have someone whose brain has been injured, we haven't
Right.
taken the same thing to say, let's provide a stimulus and try to
Right.
reverse the hunger, reverse the weakness, reverse the neurologic damage.
Correct.
If we don't try, it will not happen and we will lose those functions.
Yes.
More to say about that, but I want to turn it back over to your
Well,
eloquent questions.
thank you. I love what you said about that because I think that obviously movement incredibly important, right? The dopamine,
Mm.
all that takes place with that. But what I do love in what I do and I see other people do is having the podcast, especially when I'm interviewing a patient, let's say, okay? I've got to keep track of what I'm saying and when I'm watching them losing their thought. So it's a very good exercise
Yes.
for an MS patient or Parkinson's or stroke to be having to think ahead of, okay, I've got to keep this. I've got to really be listening and focusing because at some point this is my podcast and that person may lose what they're saying. So I better be listening and I better be ready to help this person out. So to me, it's a very good Wordle, all those kind of things, but very good ways to help the mind to readjust and again, new lanes that I haven't gone in. But those are the kind of games I play with myself.
Those are very healthy games. And again, it's purpose filled. It feels fun to you. It feels engaging and productive to you. And to each person, every listener you have
Yes.
out there, they need to choose
Hmm.
their own opportunities to procure more
Yes.
health. You know, it not everybody has to exercise.
Right.
You can actually get movement through physical activity. Doesn't have to be in a gym,
Right.
but when it's structured and it's in a gym, you can get an elevated dosage if
Yes.
that's something you believe in. But you're exactly right.
Mhm.
There are opportunities that are out there. And just like you're exercising your cognitive
Right.
faculties when you're interviewing someone, we have to keep all of our faculties viable. I
Right.
recently moved from a two-story home to a one-story.
Okay.
Am I going to allow my legs to get weaker because I'm not going up and down stairs? I have to replace the stimulus. If I
Right.
retire from work, I have to replace the stimulus
Right.
that work was giving me.
I love that you said that.
Everything that, yes. And when you lose those stimuli, you
Mhm.
don't lose it because you're aging, you
Right.
lose it because you stop doing it.
Exactly. So, okay, I have a question about that. So, a lot of times I run a couple support groups as well. So, I have a lot of people in the support group that will say, because it's open to um, not just multiple sclerosis, but all of the things, all the fun things. So, one of the things that I always feel when I'm listening is that when you're struggling, when you're not working anymore, you feel like you lose the sense of not only independence, but what is my life worth anymore? Once that happens, we're in scary territory. So I always love the idea. This has always been my dream at some point is to have times that we brainstorm with those people and remind them, oh, what did you like to do previous to this? And how can we then engage in activities so these people don't feel like there's nothing to live for, but they
Yeah.
are still relevant?
That's right. And that's why I start every single physical therapy session that I have with a person that I've never met, whether I'm a coverage therapist or doing a new evaluation, by learning about the person.
Yeah,
What was your work? What are hobbies you have? What are things you like to do? Because then I take that information and fold that into, I
yeah,
inform my physical therapy session with that. The individual is engaged
right,
to recapture those activities, or they're engaged to remind their brain about the things that they used to do.
right,
Sometimes I just frame my educational opportunities according to what their profession was. And I make
right.
an analogy that feels more common to them. So we need to personalized healthcare,
Yeah.
personalized wellness. What I like to say, the big, phrase right now is precision medicine.
Yeah.
And I tell people you can't spell precision without the letters from person.
Yeah. Well, I'm writing that down.
PERSON, you need those to spell precision.
Yeah. I like it. That's a good. This must be why you're asked to speak all over the world. You think? You're funny. You're very intelligent. This is, yeah, very good. I like that. What do
Thank
you
you.
say to some of the patients that are feeling like they're not heard, they're not listened to?
Mm. Okay, so what I like to do in those situations is I want them to tell me about their healthcare experiences. Name two things that you have seen or experienced in healthcare that has not felt healthy to you, and give me one thing that you feel like has been healthy, because I want to be a provider that doesn't replicate
Right.
the errors that have been made, and I want to reproduce the
Right.
success you've already had. So I let them help me inform
Yeah.
my care and my practice right away.
I like that. Very
That's
good.
Yeah. If you don't open it up for to
Mhm.
give people the opportunity to say what works for you,
Right.
and you've already lost them, and you've lost a large part of benefit in what we call the placebo effect.
Right. Yeah,
And I'll
100%.
be very careful to define this well for the audience. I
Thank
know
you.
you're very familiar with it, but a placebo is not the same thing as a placebo effect. A
Right.
placebo is meaningless, invaluable, sham. It's a sugar pill, it's a tincture, it's an ointment, it's snake oil. Okay? That's meaningless and worthless. But the
Right.
placebo effect is the amount that something will be improved or made better because you believe in it. I
Yes.
believe in my therapist. I believe in this hospital or program I'm going to. I believe this medication is going to help me because my
Mhm.
mom also took it and it worked for her. So we need to
Yeah.
leverage the placebo effect by demonstrating to people that we're listening to them and we care about getting it right.
Correct. I think that that is one of the things that I know you'll understand this is that when I decided to go into this field and long story, I didn't get to complete the physical therapy. So what my heart was always stressed about, not sure that's the right word, is that what next with these patients? What's the next part? And because exercise, physio, all of that was such a big part for me, that's what I decided to continue, was that we've
Mm.
got to figure out what next, because I'm seeing too many patients lost after. Like, I don't know how to exercise. I've never been in an exercise program. And so for me, I thought, well, gosh, I do know how to help these people. And so this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. I didn't know there was no money in it, Mike. I should have called you. But it is something that, as you know, that feeling of helping and seeing someone with issues like this is so completely rewarding. What do you say to gosh, it's leaving my mind. I got to think of this because it was a good question. Of oh, because I know you have this like I do. People that you are caring more than they are, or you want them healthier than they do. That's a very difficult thing for us when we see how far they can go and they don't they're not good, they're missing appointments, they're not coming, and you're just like, I can't care more about your health than you do. How do you
So
handle that?
I'll tell you this, and this is just my perspective on this. Bob Marley once said, "No bad days." All
Yeah.
right. And I say, "No bad patients."
Yeah.
I feel very strongly that an unmotivated patient
Hmm.
is a person that hasn't been heard and listened to,
Yeah.
that my approach has not resonated with them, because it's my job, if I'm doing it well, not to cookie cut the
Yeah.
same exact treatment for everyone, but to find the person in there and
Yeah.
find meaning so that I can tap into that.
I like
And
that.
so I'll tell you that uh, when I see an individual is less than fully engaged, I
Yeah.
want to pivot and make certain that I'm doing what I can to allow them to work with me to
Yeah.
adjust the dosage, How does
Yeah.
that feel to you? Because they might be scared or fearful of
Sure.
what I'm doing, but also unwilling to verbalize that to
Yeah.
me. And if I don't give them space to say, does this make you fearful? I don't know that. And
Right.
I have scared them off from coming to therapy. Or maybe my therapy has been too game like,
Yeah.
too playful. Some people love that.
Yeah.
Other people feel like they're wasting their copay.
Sure.
So I want to make certain, how are you receiving this
Yeah.
therapy? Does it feel like it's meaningful and
Very
valuable to
good.
you? And in many situations, I need to find out the subtype of person we have here, what
Right.
motivates them.
Yes.
Because they might be motivated by what we call gamification. They want to try to see if they can set a new personal best in a
Yeah.
2-minute walk test.
Yeah.
But if I assume that everybody's motivated by gamification,
Right.
then I miss 40% of the people.
Right.
So I
That's
got to
so
find out what
true. I love
motivates
that.
you
Yeah.
and what is worth your
Yes.
copay and worth your time, because some people also don't have any self-efficacy and they don't think
Right.
they can improve.
Or
So I'll
I
tell you
would go
one
ahead.
last thing on
You go
this.
ahead.
Last part. The attribute known as self-efficacy,
Yeah.
thinking that what I do to help my health condition matters, is extremely important. And if someone has no self-efficacy, I can't talk them into having self-efficacy. I say people earn self-efficacy, they don't learn self-efficacy. So a less than fully motivated patient,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm going to quiet down
Yeah.
and let them prove to themselves they're doing better than what they
I like
predict.
it. Yes. Like that. Very good. Very, very good. I'm going to replay this and so my other question is what do you okay, let me remember what I was going to ask. Um darn those that cognitive stuff. Um it was I wanted to put that in. Um I'll ask you something else that hopefully it'll come to me.
It
The
was
last
right
few
before
questions.
I
I
started talking
know.
about self-efficacy that you were just about ready to talk, and I was talking to you about different ways that people could
Yeah.
be motivated. Gamification would be one thing. We didn't talk about it, but loss
Yeah.
aversion. So maybe that was what you were
Nah.
talking about, is different ways to
It
motivate people.
was oh, I know what it was. No, what are your thoughts on some of the newer physical therapy that I run into when I get them next, where it's like boom, boom, they walk, they did this, they did check, 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 done. That makes me nervous when I get and I'm like, "Wait, you didn't do this? They didn't do this with you? Hold on." That makes or if they won't work with me to help the client, the patient,
Mhm.
where it's like, "Is this about you or are we talking about the patient?" Do you see a big difference in and I don't mean neuro well, they'll say neuro, but it's not really neuro, and
Yeah,
the nervousness am I alone on that, or does this make
you're
you
not.
nervous? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we do understand that your best opportunity to be served well by a physical therapist as an individual with multiple sclerosis is to seek out someone that has earned
Mhm.
degrees of specialization or certification in this. Because
Sure.
number one, if nothing else, that indicates this person cares about and has attempted to learn more
Right.
about this condition. And in that fashion, we know nowadays we still have a shortage of healthcare providers,
Right.
and many providers are being served by someone who would rather not see X diagnosis
Right.
on their caseload. This is what I really like to do, but oh, I've got to see one of these individuals.
Right.
And that could be total knee replacement, low back pain, could be MS, could be CP or
Right.
stroke. But if you're not matched well with someone that is engaged by your condition, they may
Right.
demonstrate that disengagement by exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about, a very robotic, a very checklist
Yeah.
oriented, systematized rather than personalized
Yeah.
approach. And I say, be a great healthcare consumer and move on.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I'm like, it's like speed dating. If you're not feeling
Yes.
that, then There are a lot of physical therapists, and you'll find a great one, but move on.
It's not
So,
hard to find a physical therapist that has neurologic
right.
specialization. You just go on to
Yeah.
findapt.org, and it's spelled out just like that,
Yeah.
and type in the search engine exactly what you're looking for. Neurologic, has
Yes.
specialization within 5 miles from this zip code, and you've got it.
I love, yeah, thank you. That'll be on the show notes as well. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to talk about the books that you wrote. Talk to us a
Oh,
little bit
okay.
about. Okay, so the one in 2007, I believe, was just seeing changes, right? We're talking about like changes, and we're just talking then because we talked a little bit about it before. That's when I was kind of hearing, because I would just always wanted more knowledge. So I was the one like at any doctor's office, at any place I could, knock, knock, knock. What is this thing? I want to know more. So that's when people we're kind of learning more. People aren't thinking it's completely nuts. They're kind of having some like ideas. This is all right. There may be something to it, but a lot of doctors were still thinking it was nuts. So you start writing a book. Talk to us about the book.
Okay, so to be very clear but yet succinct, I've published about 50 articles, 2 books, and 7 book chapters. The book that you may be referring to here, so my most popular book right here is
Hmm.
and it's available on Amazon, is The Brain That Chooses Itself.
Yes.
That book does exactly what you and I have been talking about today. It respects the patient's ability and values the
Mhm.
patient's ability to make choices in their own wellness and healthcare. And in that book, which was just published in 2024, late to 2024,
Can I say thank
we
you, by
div-
the way, that it's on
sorry.
Audible? Can I say thank
Oh
you that it's
yes,
on? Because
yeah.
a lot of us have very poor eyesight. So thank you for that. It's always
I'm
a
glad you
gift.
enjoyed that.
Thank you.
I recorded that book in this very room and with this very microphone
Really? That's
and shrouded to be able to make for a very, uh, let's just say, impactful and high quality recording studio.
thank
So
you.
you're very welcome. I take great pleasure in narrating that book myself.
Yeah.
Uh, so that book actually divides health
Mm.
span. How can we stay functional, fun, and productive for as long as possible? It divides it into 5 separate categories: physical activity, movement that we've
Mhm.
talked about today, nutrition, sleep, rest, and
Yes.
play, social connectivity, keeping connected with others,
Mhm.
and then also having alone time as we
Yes.
prefer. And then the final one is doing challenging things so that
Yeah.
we keep uh, our faculties viable. And you
Yeah.
already know, live, and breathe all of this. But there are health properties that can reduce
Mhm.
inflammation, like physical activity, like sleep, that we
Mhm.
don't necessarily know
Right.
if unless we delve into the literature. And there are so many different ways to get the health properties that
Mhm.
it's a misnomer to say you need to take this supplement, you need to only do this exercise.
Right.
Everyone in the world needs to fall asleep at 9:30 and sleep for
Right.
8 hours. And the problem is that we feel like we're missing the mark. So why even try?
Sure.
Aging is going to do what aging is going to do. And so I took the book and I said, let's give people, empower them with all the different options and
Mhm.
let them choose an
Yeah.
option that feels easy and inexpensive and intuitive and logical, and let them choose to grab some health.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think it's a great book. I'm gonna encourage everyone to get that. I think it's so crucial. I think it brings up things that we don't always think about and or never thought about. And I think that it's just very well done. I love it. I know a lot of us love to have Audible because we can no longer read with our eyeballs anymore. So I just really encourage that. That'll all be on the show notes. And,
Thank you.
definitely, I have just been so impressed with, talk to us about I love what you talked about in the TED Talk, and then I know I won't keep you because I know then people will lose 30 minutes is the top.
Mhm.
Um, talk to us about I love what you talked about in the TED Talk about the one, can't remember his name, the one that was in the water, and,
That's Luke.
'Cause
Yeah.
I do see with my higher functioning clients that are able to do some forms, because I always take it as like a circuit training, but change
Yeah.
it to that person. And I do see some that want that short hit, and
Yeah.
they'll do that hit program, and I'll do it with them, and they get a lot out of that. And
Yes.
so not a ton, but I do have those clients that will do that. So tell me about, or tell the listeners about this young man and how that changed.
What's interesting is Luke had two concussions 1 month apart, and a year later, I got to see him for the first time. He had gone from a high level soccer athlete and straight A student to basically failing in both of those.
Yeah.
He was uh, losing attention span. He was depressed. He could not problem solve very well. The concussions, two of them had stacked up.
Yeah.
I put Luke through a progressive training program that involved physical activity in the exact fashion that he liked.
Yeah.
We put it into the context of soccer, and I gave him a cognitive activity to keep track of at the same time. We call that dual
Yeah.
tasking. We gave him, just as you're suggesting, Kathy, high intensity interval training. And I put him on an underwater treadmill,
Yeah.
which meant he was in water up to his chest. He would have to listen to a list of words that I would play out. And each one of those words he had memorized were associated with one of the four directions on the treadmill:
Okay.
forward, sideways, backwards, or sideways.
Okay.
And by engaging his brain and his body
Yeah.
without overdoing it, because running underwater has a degree of
Sure.
buoyancy and support, he saw himself as capable. He saw himself as improving. He
Yes.
received dopamine and brain
Yeah.
fertilizers
Yeah.
and created the neural pathways that restored
Hmm.
his capacity to think and
Yeah.
attend in class. Right now, your listeners will be impressed to know that even though I saw Luke back in 2017 and 18, and he could not find his way through school or back onto the soccer field, that Luke this August is starting physical therapy school.
Wow, that's really
Yes.
awesome. That's a
Yeah.
miracle. And that's the thing. Those
Yes.
are the great stories. I think people, when they start a program, they think, oh my gosh, it's been a year. I'm not doing this. And it's constantly saying patient, patient. Sometimes we have to go backwards to go forward. Patience.
Wow, that is powerful. And sometimes you do need to go backward to go forward. And you need to know, as a person with multiple sclerosis,
Yeah.
that it's okay to engage in something that feels difficult. Go
Right.
backward, be a little bit fatigued, so you
Yeah.
can replenish and challenge some systems. We have done a disservice to persons with multiple sclerosis for decades in shrouding them and nearly protecting them in a blanket that ends up weighing them down to say,
Yeah.
protect, stay away, don't exert.
Right.
And I've
Sleep,
read studies
rest.
now. Yes, yes. I've
And
read studies
it
that,
was COVID. It was 2020, the first time MS Society said exercise is your best defense. I was like, hello, hello, hello.
yes, it's anti-inflammatory. It promotes the immune system's
Yeah,
ability to defend. It creates a resilience and redundant
right.
pathways for your cortical lesions.
Yeah.
But what we understand is that upwards of 40% of the disability that people with multiple sclerosis
Mhm.
have is because of disuse, not disease.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. 100%. If I could shout that from the rooftops, I try hard at it. It is very interesting. And I do believe most MS patients don't like when I say this, but I believe that from the beginning, because my aunt had it and my grandfather, that I never stopped moving. I just did it. I just kept going with what felt right, what seemed right. And
Yeah.
I just thought, I had little kids and I thought, there's nothing I'm willing to lose. So whatever
Yeah.
I have to do. And so I think that those people, I can tell a difference in where they are. and why I think I've stayed in relapsing remitting and not gone on to worsen.
You've controlled it. And
Yeah.
Kathy, you're a little bit younger than I am, so I'll at least hearken to some of your listeners, and you may have some familiarity with this, but we have a misperception of what exercise has to look
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
And we
I was
also have a
just going there.
misperception that everything has to be exercise and it can't
Right.
be physical activity. I mean, when I was in high school, and early days of college, I graduated high school in '87. C. Everett Koop was the U.S. Surgeon General. Did a great job, but we thought at that time, because of some of his work, that people needed it wasn't exercise and it wasn't
Right.
good for you unless you did 30 minutes straight of cardiovascular.
Right.
And you
Right.
know this now, owning your gym and as a
Right.
person with multiple sclerosis, that if it feels too difficult to exercise,
Right.
you can do high intensity interval training for 15 seconds
Right.
hard, 40 seconds, easy,
Exactly.
45 seconds easy,
Right.
15 seconds hard. You
Yes.
can do 4 sets of 15 seconds
Mhm.
that adds up to a minute
Yeah.
spread out over 6 minutes of time. And you've
Yes.
benefited
Yeah.
yourself sometimes more than 20 minutes
Yes.
straight of activity.
Yeah. 100%. And I also agree with sometimes doing it on my own, which I love to do, is that you can see your patient or client, look at them and say, "Ooh, they look like they're not ready for that." And then you can say, let's do some breathing and meditation and then maybe stretching today because that's still
Right?
movement and that's what they need.
Yes.
And they don't
Yeah.
need today to do. I'm going to throw out the program I wrote for them today because that's what they need today. They need something different.
Right.
Going back to what you said, getting to know your patient, how
Yeah.
they receive it, are they going to connect? Do they trust you? Well, they sure will if they can see that, okay, they can see me and know I'm not ready to do a full-on workout today. Do you
Yeah.
see me in my eyes that I'm not feeling it today? So I think that that's an important thing to
You
understand.
you got it. You should have co-written the book with me because you understand here that especially your listeners, if we give them even just one more let's just say nugget or ear candy, it's this. That when we can help someone
Mhm,
engage in movement that they prefer, that movement is actually superior
mhm.
to the best exercise
Yeah,
that they hate,
100%.
right?
Yes,
And
yes,
so we talk about exercise snacks and we
yes.
talk about what's known as VILPA. And I write about
Yeah.
it in the book in chapter 2, but let's just make it very clear.
Mhm,
If you don't feel that you have time, energy, money to make it out to the gym, personal trainer, etc., build your tissue hygiene, just like Kathy's saying.
mm.
Build your abilities with some
Yeah,
stretching today. Build your abilities with a slow walk today. And
yeah.
so you may do something in the confines of your own
Mhm,
home known as an exercise snack.
mhm.
You know what? When I stand up from the couch, rather than standing up once, I'm going to sit back down and stand
Right.
back up and do it 5 times. That's an
Yeah,
exercise snack. You
right.
reach over and grab a handful of health.
Yeah,
When I'm
love
brushing
that.
my teeth, I'm going to try to stand with my feet close together, even though I'm
Yes.
close to the counter or the sink and I could catch myself. I'm
Yeah,
working on my balance
yes,
exercises
love that.
during a time I've devoted for something
Right.
else. We call that habit stacking.
Love
And
that,
then
love it, love it.
finally, there's just an enormity of science on something that's known as vigorous intermittent lifestyle physical activity. You don't have
Mhm.
to know the acronym, it's called VILPA. And it means in the activities you were already going to do
Right.
today, spend brief periods of time moving with intensity. You were going
Yeah,
to walk out to get the mail, take 10 steps fast
yeah,
on your 80 steps to get the mail.
right.
So you were going to get up and get out of bed, try to
Yes,
see if you can do it quickly once or
right.
twice and go from lying down to legs on the
Yes,
floor to standing up and
right.
generate some power.
Yeah,
You've
absolutely.
actually done yourself some health
Yeah,
in very small
so true.
periods of time.
So true. Yeah, I absolutely I love that. I couldn't be in obviously more agreement. with what you're saying, and I think it's just so powerful and so true. And yes, we're gonna have to write a book for sure because I couldn't be. I'm just like yes, yes, everything. So it just has been. We're gonna have to do another podcast. We're definitely gonna have to collaborate on something. I couldn't have enjoyed this podcast more. I know that the listeners are going to absolutely love this and enjoy just hearing the things that you've shared about neuroplasticity, about not everything needs to be this high intensity exercise. It has to be something that works for you, that you want to do. The other ways, the books, the other ways that that people can grow from from the things and not get rid of the depression and have some things that just really gets them excited. So
Yeah.
definitely want to talk
You,
to you more.
and I know, and if I've done one thing, I've missed the mark because you referred to books a number of times. So I'll bring this one over to
Yes,
wrap us
please
up
do.
because I've neglected to mention this one. This is my most recent book, and so thank you for bringing it up
Yeah.
several times. So this will be a somewhat of a humorous story to end on, and it ends well. On September 15th, I experienced a full blown onset of Bell's palsy,
Oh
which basically
no.
means this: the right side of
Yes.
my face did not work at all for 2 weeks straight, and I had the worst prognosis possible:
Oh,
facial
jeez.
droop, no resting tone, no voluntary ability to move my face. And so, Kathy, every single day that I went through that, I in fact journaled about what I was going
Wow.
through. And I actually have all of that written in a very short, easy to read book in very large print.
Oh, I
um,
want to, yeah,
and
that's
that
great.
book actually not only helps people get through Bell's palsy, because that would be a very small audience. It actually helps people learn how to get through crises
Yeah.
without making the crisis worse. So that's exactly why I titled it My Facebook,
Yeah.
and it's called Looking Beyond What the Mirror Shows Us in Crisis,
Oh, I
because
love that.
we tend to flame the crisis and make it
Yeah.
worse. So thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that book up, and I wanted to
Absolutely.
just do that service
Absolutely.
and
I
attend
love
to
it
that.
too because it is, and this will really truly be the end. Um, we don't always remember those things, like don't make a decision in the middle of crisis, right?
Yeah,
That's not the time that you make big decisions. So what a great
yeah,
reminder. So thank you for that.
yes,
So I look
yeah.
forward to doing something with you soon. And thank you so much for being with us today. And when it airs, I'll let you know, and we'll definitely broadcast this all over. So listeners, don't worry about, you don't have to pull over because everything will be on the bottom of the show notes. So don't forget to not just listen but you please subscribe because that's what helps the podcast. So again, thank you so much, Mike. It was great to have you.
Kathy, thank you for filling this space. If you had
Thank
chosen an
you.
alternate route for your profession, the space that you fill would be void and empty. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. That's a great compliment. I will take that all day. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. I can't wait to see you back next week.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Move It or Lose It podcast. It would mean the world to me if you subscribed and left a review. Remember, you can find me on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. New episodes of the Move It or Lose It podcast air every other Wednesday. If you have any suggestions for future guests or topics, please visit my website at www.msdisrupted.com. Until next time.